everyone, welcome to day 3 of our article on Frida Kahlo for English for You. I'm Kat.
I'm Elsie.
And today, like I said, we're talking more about Miss Frida. And she had some wonderful works of art. We talked about her life and how her life influenced her art. And basically, from her childhood to her death, she had a lot of health problems. And she painted kind of despite them and showed them in her work. She was not shy about that.
Right, so she had polio. And she had a bad accident.
Yep.
And in the end, she was carried to her gallery.
Yeah, she basically had to be carried around because she couldn't walk and it was even hard to sit up. So, yeah, she, became more famous after she died. And there are some different reasons for that. But today we're going to explore some of her work and what makes it very important and what makes it special. So why don't we get right into it and we'll learn more about Frida Kahlo's portraits.
Reading.
The Life and Art of Frida Kahlo. The more we look at Frida's self-portraits, the better we understand her. One example of this is The Two Fridas, which was completed after her divorce from Diego Rivera. On the left side of the painting, Frida wears traditional clothes, and her broken heart is clearly shown. On the right, Frida wears modern clothes, and her heart is whole and healthy. Frida said the painting shows her loneliness and sorrow after her separation. The stormy sky behind her also reflects her mood at the time. Another picture, Self-Portrait with Thorn Necklace and Hummingbird, displays Frida's love for Mexico's indigenous culture. Like many of her works, it includes images of roots. This shows her connection to her country and its past. But there are other meanings to this symbol. It hints at how Frida's own past, specifically the pain of her injuries, influences her present. Much of Frida's art, along with her ashes, is on display at La Casa Azul. This was her family home before it was turned into a museum by Rivera after her death.
Okay, so we begin today by saying the more we look at Frida's self-portraits, the better we understand her.
Okay, so Frida 她一开始画的是个人的自画像. So by looking at her portraits, we can understand her more.
Yes, especially because they're self-portraits. That means she painted herself.
Yeah, we probably can learn about her personality from her paintings.
Yes, and her thoughts.
Yeah.
One example of this is The Two Fridas, which was completed after her divorce from Diego Rivera.
The name is very interesting, The Two Fridas.
Yes, because there are two Fridas in that painting. They're sitting across from each other. And she did this after she divorced Diego Rivera. And so divorce is when you end your marriage by a legal process. And so, yeah, she and Diego, like I said, they had a stormy marriage. They had, a very interesting marriage and they needed their own space a lot. They also had a lot of affairs with other people.
Oh.
Yep. And so eventually it became too much and they divorced.
OK, 所以我们之前有谈到她呢跟她老公结婚，那这边呢我们讲到的是他们离婚的部分 divorce， 好，这是一个名词在这边的使用，那代表的是离婚，所以 The Two Fridas 这幅画是她与 Diego 在离婚之后他所完成的作品。So you just mentioned there are really two Fridas in the painting.
Yes, they're sitting across from each other. On the left side of the painting, Frida wears traditional clothes, and her broken heart is clearly shown.
所以左边的部分她是穿传统的服饰，不过她有一颗 broken heart， 破碎的心。So the left side shows a sad and heartbroken Frida. What about the right side?
On the right, Frida wears modern clothes, and her heart is whole and healthy. So probably she was feeling two different things at this time. She's thinking, I'm free, I'm by myself, I'm healthy, this is what I want to be, but also I'm heartbroken, I'm sad, I feel lonely, that kind of thing.
所以左右两边呈现的是她不同的面貌。They're in country.
Yeah. So Frida said the painting shows her loneliness and sorrow after her separation. So, yeah, sometimes when you separate from your love or the person you loved, it's like separating from yourself in a way. And it shows her loneliness, her being lonely, and her sorrow. Sorrow is where the word sorry comes from. It's a feeling of sadness or grief, especially from losing someone or something. So when you feel sorrow, you feel like you've lost something. You feel sadness and you feel empty inside. So, an example, Emily's sorrow at her mother's death was so deep that she was unable to work for months. So that's very deep sorrow. And what to cause this sorrow was a separation. We already talked about what a divorce is. Separation is a little less specific. Separation is a situation where a husband and wife live apart from each other. So, they might still be married, but they are separated. And also separation is a period of time that people who are usually together spend apart. Like, for example, Elsie and her husband, if they were to be apart for a few months, even if they are not, even if they're still good, and, one of them's in the US and one of them's in Taiwan, something like that, then they would be separated. That would be a separation. That would be sad. So have you experienced separation from your husband before?
Yeah, like last year, he went back to the States and then he got COVID.
Oh, no.
So he had to stay there longer.
Oh, no.
Yeah, which was what, 3 months?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
I got the freedom of 3 months here.
Freedom. You're like, yay, get to be alone for 3 months. But also you missed him, I'm sure.
Yeah, I did miss him.
Yeah. So for an example sentence for separation, Mike remembers his parents' separation when he was 8 years old. His father didn't live with his mother for a while.
好，同学们，我们来看看呢，这边有一个名词，我们先来说哈，是刚刚没有提到的，就是 loneliness， 它是由形容词 lonely 变过来的。那我们把字尾的 y 拿掉，加上 I-N-E-S-S， 就可以把它变成名词。那再来，我们还看到了一个名词是 sorrow， 它代表的是悲伤、悲痛。那我们也可以用 sadness 来说，所以你发现它也是哦，字尾为 N-E-S-S 的名词，也就是从 sad， 然后加上字尾 N-E-S-S。组成的。那再来 separation 这个名词代表的是分离、分开，或者是指夫妻分居。
Okay, so she painted this painting about her sorrow after separating from Diego Rivera, her husband. And the stormy sky behind her also reflects her mood at the time. Stormy. So when something is stormy, you have a storm there. It's related to a storm or affected by a storm. Basically, bad weather, rain and thunder, dark clouds, and lightning, and go, stormy weather. It's violent weather. And stormy can also talk about relationships. If people have a stormy relationship, maybe they fight a lot, maybe they have problems a lot of the time, and it's very difficult. It's a difficult kind of relationship. And so stormy skies can represent that too. So an example, we will have stormy weather tomorrow, so please bring an umbrella when you leave for school.
So in her painting, the two Fridas, there are two Fridas. One is sad, the other is happier, is healthy. 然后在背景的部分，我们看到是一个 the stormy sky， 好，是一个暴风雨的天空在它的后方。那 stormy 这个形容词指的就是暴风雨的或是风暴的。那名词 storm， 好，指的就是暴风雨，这个我们很熟悉。那再来呢，还有一个动词是 reflect， 代表反映、显示。所以啊，这个 stormy sky reflects her mood， 就是反映了她当时的心情。
Right. So that's one of her portraits, one of her self-portraits. Another picture, self-portrait with thorn necklace and hummingbird, displays Frida's love for Mexico's indigenous culture. So, of course, the Aztecs, as we talked about before, are the people who were in Mexico first. They are Mexico's indigenous people, along with the Maya and some other groups. So the indigenous people, or something indigenous, means it's living or existing naturally in a particular region or environment. So we're talking about the first people who were in a place. Before the Europeans came to Mexico, the Aztecs were there, the Mayans were there, and they were the indigenous people, and they had their indigenous culture.
Indigenous 这个形容词呢，就是原住民的。好，所以呢，像是有原住民的文化啦 ，Indigenous culture 或者是原住民的语言 ，Indigenous language， 这些都是我们需要来保存的。好，所以保存的这个动词呢，我们在这边可以用到 preserve 这个字。
So we're talking about how she showed the indigenous culture in her painting. Like many of her works, it includes images of roots. So she includes roots, which are basically the bottom part of a tree or a plant, and she made images of them. An image is a picture, but it's mainly a picture that's shown by a camera or an artist or a mirror or something else like that. Basically, if it shows it in one of these things, then it's an image. So an example, you could say Kylie smiled at her image in the mirror after putting on her new dress.Image
这个名词代表就是图像，所以当你在想象一件事情的时候呢，会有一个 image 跑到你的头脑当中，所以我们想象的动词说的是 imagine， 好，就是由这个字变化而来的。
So image is related to imagine and your imagination. You can make images in your head.So it includes roots, the roots of a tree. They go very deep into the earth. This shows her connection to her country and its past. But there are other meanings to this symbol.Okay,
so there are other meanings to the symbols here means the images of roots, right?
That's right. So it hints at how Frida's own past, specifically the pain of her injuries, influences her present. So it hints at something. To hint at something is to kind of give an indirect statement, kind of give information about something in an indirect way. So if I were to want to tell Elsie, like, maybe that her hair was messy, I might go, oh, Elsie, maybe you want to fix your hair, maybe. Like, that would be like hinting.
You're
instead of
hinting
saying,
me.
Yeah, I'm hinting at you.
Hinting at me.
Yes, I'm hinting at you that your hair's, but it's not actually. Your hair's fine. But if I were to hint at something, it'd be being an indirect way and kind of trying to give information. So, an example, the teacher hinted that we might be able to have a party in class after our final tests. That sounds fun. So then we see, what does it hint at? It hints specifically at the pain of her injuries. Specifically means in an exact way, in a definite way. So even though the saying is indirect, the thing that it hints at is specific. It's a very definite thing. So this very definite thing is her pain of her injuries. An example, Jane specifically asked her wedding guests not to wear white at the party.OK,
那我们刚刚看到的 hint， 好，这个动词代表的是暗示或是示意，所以 hint at something， 那就是暗示点点点或是示意点点点。那它本身也可以当做一个名词哦，代表就是提示。比如说呢 ，give somebody a hint， 好，那就是给某人一个提示。那接下来我们看到这个副词呢是 specifically， 代表的是确切地说。那如果我们把字尾的 ly 拿掉，然后呢，再把 al 也拿掉，我们就会看到 specific。这什么意思呢？是个形容词，代表确切的。所以当你如果要请一个人说话更确切、更具体一些，让你更知道他在说什么的时候，你可以跟他讲 Can you be more specific？ 你可以说得更具体吗
？Right, so she was talking specifically about the pain of her injuries, and she's wearing a thorn necklace in this painting too, and thorns are those little spikes that you find on plants sometimes, like roses. So if you're wearing a necklace of thorns, it's kind of like, you have something very painful around your neck. And probably she felt like she was wearing her pain every day because she can't get away from it.And that would really influence her daily life and her present life when she was painting that. So, yeah, we've talked about, two portraits here. We've got the two Fridas, we've got the thorn necklace and hummingbird. Much of Frida's art, along with her ashes, is on display at La Casa Azul. So her art, a lot of her paintings are there, and her ashes, which is the remains of her body after being burned.
所以我这边看到的片语 along with 代表是连同点点点一起，所以它的艺术品还有它的骨灰就这样子一起在这个地方 on display， 所以 be on display 代表就是展示。
Right. So we talked about display as a verb yesterday, saying that you show something. But being on display is also showing something. It's being there to show people. So the La Casa Azul means the blue house, and it's in Mexico City. And this was her family home before it was turned into a museum by Rivera after her death. So, yeah, the thing is, she and Diego Rivera, they always loved and respected each other. Even after they divorced, they helped each other. And he wanted to help to remember her after she died, so he turned her house into a museum.
Oh, he even did so for her.
Yes.
That's really nice. 所以呢 turn into something 或是 somebody 那就是变成点点点或是成为点点点。那在课文当中呢是以被动形式出现的哦。所以 before it was turned into a museum 这个 it 指的就是他的 family home， 然后带出被动，它被转变为后面的这个博物馆。好，那是谁来做这件事情呢？就是他的前夫这个 Diego Rivera。
Yes. So that's all we've got about Frida Kahlo. You guys can go look at her paintings. They are very colorful. They're great to look at. And they have a lot of different meanings in them. It's not just her and her clothes. It's not just that. There's always something else to see in her paintings. She uses a lot of birds, a lot of flowers, very nature-y, and they're just so cool. I really love her art.
I gotta check her painting out.
Yeah, for sure. So that's all we've got for our article on Frida Kahlo. Let's go to our For You chat.
For You chat.
Okay, our chat question today. What items could you include in a self-portrait to tell people more about your life?
Wow, this is an interesting question. I've never thought about this question before. So I would include, of course, myself, my cat,
Okay.
my husband, and my parents.
That's not a self-portrait. That's a family portrait.
But they're probably small next to me. I'm in the center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're
okay.
surrounding me.
I see.
Yeah.
So they're like behind you maybe? Like
or maybe they're
ways behind
on
you.
my face or body.
Okay. Yeah, that could be good. Let's
What
see.
about yours? So
Oh.
you've painted a lot of self-portraits.
I have. It's been a while since I did one, but
What elements did you use in your self-portraits?
oh, that's hard to remember.
How about you pick one self-portrait and talk about it?
I honestly don't remember them very much because they were all done in school and I did them under pressure. But I think if I was going to do one now, I would include like kind of nature and like space, like universe concepts because that's like what I've been tuning into a lot lately.
So most of your paintings recently are about space, universe, and
In nature, yeah. Like I think one I could think of is kind of an explosion of leaves and flowers, like explosion of life.
like from your head.
Well, or from my hands.
Or from your hands, not your head.
Yes. Yeah, something that is about like making life, creating things. Yeah. So, yeah, that's one idea. There's also, you could include if you're doing daily life, maybe I would do one of just me sipping bubble tea and looking at my phone. That would be I feel like a lot of people's self-portrait here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fun. So you guys can think about this too. And if you are, if you like to draw, or if you know somebody who does like to draw, you can ask to try and make a portrait or make a self-portrait of yourself. And it could be pretty fun. You could gain a lot of knowledge and influence from Frida Kahlo's art.
And maybe you can get to know yourself more.
That's right. Explore your identity. And so that's all we've got for English for You. I'm Kat.
I'm Elsie.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Sorrow. Larry felt great sorrow for many months after his best friend died. Separation. It is thought that children who experience separation from their parents could face greater difficulties later in life. Stormy. It was a stormy night when we flew to the U.S., and the plane shook a lot. Image. This country's money has many images of local animals on it. Hint. The teacher hinted that we might have a surprise quiz tomorrow when she said, "Be sure to study tonight." Specifically. Sally loved the action scenes in the movie. Specifically, she thought the restaurant fights were very exciting.
智慧小补帖
Divorce. Reflect. Indigenous.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net